we're about to attempt what Bugatti think is impossible.
Can't do that in a garage. There's just a few places in the world with the right equipment and only a few people in the world with the right training to be able to do that.
For decades, the automotive world has respected Porsche as a symbol of precision, power, and prestige. But now, one explosive statement from Porsche's CEO has thrown the supercar industry into chaos and unexpectedly placed YouTube builder Mat Armstrong at the center of it all. What began as a daring rebuild project may have triggered tensions reaching all the way to Bugatti itself. Fans are stunned, insiders are talking, and rumors are spreading fast. So why is Bugatti reportedly furious, and what exactly did Porsche say that has everyone losing their minds? The hypercar that shouldn't live. The story began with a disaster so severe that nearly everyone in the car world believed the outcome was obvious from the very start. Inside a damaged workshop in Miami sat what used to be a Bugatti Chiron Pure Sport, one of the rarest and most advanced hypercars ever created. But now, it barely looked like a car at all. Twisted metal, shattered carbon fiber, and broken mechanical parts were scattered across the floor like pieces from a failed scientific experiment. Out of the entire world, only 60 Pure Sports had ever been built. This was not simply a luxury car. It was a machine designed with unbelievable precision, power, and engineering brilliance. And now, it looked destroyed. The crash tore through the front of the car with terrifying power, leaving behind a scene that looked beyond repair. Airbags had burst open across the cabin, while the transmission casing lay shattered and broken. But the real disaster was hidden deeper inside. The carbon fiber monocoque, the central structure holding the entire machine together, had been severely damaged, turning the repair into a nightmare. As experts inspected the wreck, the cost of replacement parts alone surged close to $1.7 million. Insurance companies studied the numbers, saw the enormous challenge ahead, and quickly decided the car was beyond saving. For most people, that should have been the end of the story. But then, Alex Gonzalez made a decision that shocked almost everyone following the situation. Instead of abandoning the wreck forever, he bought the destroyed Chiron back from salvage company Copart for roughly $1.9 million. Financially, the decision made little sense. Experts warned against it. Many believed the car would never drive again. But Alex refused to see it as a lost cause. He believed the legendary machine still deserved a second chance. For a project that felt nearly impossible, there was only one person he wanted to call: Mat Armstrong. At first, Mat did not look like the obvious choice to rebuild a multi-million-dollar Bugatti. He was not trained by Bugatti engineers, and he did not work in a giant luxury factory in France. Instead, he was a self-taught mechanic from Leicester who became famous online for rebuilding crashed supercars most people thought could never be saved. That is exactly why millions of people love watching his work, because every project he takes on feels like a real-life miracle unfolding slowly. Every rebuild felt like a battle between determination and defeat. But this time, the challenge was on an entirely different level. When Mat first examined the ruined Chiron, even he appeared stunned. Every inch of the vehicle reflected staggering complexity. Bugattis are not built like ordinary supercars. They are engineered with the precision of fighter jets. Every system connects to another. Every component hides layers of advanced technology. Still, Mat accepted the challenge, and that single decision changed everything. Suddenly, this was no longer just about repairing a crashed car. It became a confrontation between one determined independent creator and one of the most powerful automotive companies on Earth, Bugatti. Almost immediately, Bugatti pushed back. The company reportedly locked the vehicle's VIN, preventing official dealerships from supplying factory parts for the rebuild. The message was unmistakable. Bugatti believed the Chiron should never return to the road. But instead of stopping Mat Armstrong, the resistance only made the story even bigger, transforming an ambitious rebuild into one of the internet's most fascinating automotive battles. Did Mat Armstrong push on with his mission? Was he intimidated by Bugatti's moves? Let's delve into the details of the rebuild that turned the internet against giants. Mat Armstrong defies automotive giants. The deeper Mat Armstrong went into the Chiron rebuild, the more impossible the project appeared. Every stage revealed another nightmare. The car had to be separated into major structural sections, something Bugatti claimed only a handful of facilities worldwide could properly accomplish. Critical mounting points were damaged. Cooling systems needed to be redesigned. Specialized components were unavailable because of the parts blacklist. Most people expected the project to fail publicly and spectacularly. Instead, Mat's workshop became a symbol of relentless problem-solving. His team repaired damaged transmission mounts, fabricated custom radiators, and sourced alternative airbags using matching part numbers from an Audi A3. Without official scans or factory blueprints, they spent countless hours reverse engineering solutions from scratch. And then came the moment that changed everything. The engine started. For the first time since the devastating crash, the Chiron roared back to life inside a Leicester workshop that Bugatti itself believed should never have been capable of reviving it. The sound spread across YouTube like wildfire. Millions watched the moment in disbelief. The hypercar that was supposed to be dead was alive again. Suddenly, the rebuild stopped looking impossible, and that was exactly when the controversy exploded beyond the automotive world. Because viewers no longer saw the story as simply a dangerous repair. They saw an independent creator proving that giant corporations do not always hold all the answers. The rebuild became emotional. People admired the persistence. They admired the creativity. They admired the refusal to quit, even when every institutional barrier stood in the way. At the same time, others defended Bugatti's position. They argued that hypercars capable of extreme speeds involve enormous safety responsibilities. A structural mistake in a vehicle like the Chiron could become catastrophic. That clash created a perfect internet storm. Comment sections turned into battlefields. One side argued that once someone legally owns a car, manufacturers should not control whether it gets repaired. The other side argued that manufacturers still carry responsibility for what happens if improperly repaired vehicles return to public roads. And sitting right in the center of the debate was Mat Armstrong, not acting like an activist, not trying to start a movement, but simply trying to finish a rebuild. Ironically, that made the story even more powerful, because it felt genuine. Nothing about the project looked polished or corporate. Viewers watched failures happen in real time. They watched mistakes, setbacks, frustrations, and improvisation. Every victory felt earned because the struggle was visible. That authenticity became something the automotive world could not ignore. Especially because while Mat Armstrong kept rebuilding the impossible, another story was quietly collapsing in the background. And that story involved Porsche itself. What brought Porsche into the scene? What shocking did the Porsche CEO make? How was Mat Armstrong involved? Let's dive into the details of Porsche's collapse and the 7 words that shocked the car world. Porsche crisis shakes Bugatti future. For years, Porsche had been viewed as one of the strongest and smartest car companies on earth. The company seemed untouchable. Its profit margins were legendary. Its sports cars dominated global prestige markets, and its future looked secure as the automotive industry rushed toward electrification. Then reality hit. By 2025, Porsche's financial situation had deteriorated dramatically. Operating profit collapsed by an astonishing 92.7%. Profit margins dropped from over 14% to barely above 1%. The reasons were painful. Sales in China weakened sharply. Expensive electric models failed to attract enough buyers. Vehicles Porsche heavily invested in sat unsold at dealerships while the company struggled to maintain momentum. Ironically, the traditional Porsche 911, the very symbol of Porsche's combustion engine heritage, became one of the company's few remaining financial lifelines. Pressure from Volkswagen Group intensified quickly. Cost-cutting became unavoidable. And among Porsche's many investments, one suddenly looked less essential than before. Bugatti. Although Bugatti represented engineering prestige, it did not help solve Porsche's immediate survival problems. Hypercars costing millions generated headlines, but they were not the core business keeping Porsche alive. So Porsche made a dramatic move. On April 24, 2026, the company announced it would sell its stake in Bugatti Rimac to an investor group led by Hof Capital. The announcement alone shocked the automotive industry. But what truly exploded online was one particular statement from Porsche leadership. "We need to focus on the core business." 7 ordinary words, yet because of the timing, those words instantly became connected to the Mat Armstrong controversy. For months, viewers had watched a giant automotive system attempt to block an independent rebuild. Now, the very corporate structure supporting that resistance appeared to be retreating under financial pressure. To many people online, it looked symbolic. The powerful institutions suddenly appeared fragile. The independent mechanic suddenly appeared unstoppable. Social media exploded with theories. Some argued Porsche's exit proved the Bugatti situation had become an embarrassing public relations disaster. Others insisted the financial crisis had absolutely nothing to do with Mat Armstrong. Realistically, the truth was probably somewhere in between. A billion-dollar corporate restructuring was not caused by a YouTube rebuild series. But public perception matters enormously in modern business, and the optics surrounding the situation looked terrible. A company associated with exclusivity, control, and institutional authority was struggling financially, while an independent creator captured global attention by doing what the corporation insisted should not be done. That contrast fascinated people, and it became even more intriguing because Mat Armstrong himself never acted like someone fighting a war. Throughout the interviews, he repeatedly said he respected Mat Rimac personally and believed many obstacles came from larger corporate systems rather than individual hostility. But now those corporate systems were changing, and the automotive world immediately started asking the same question. What happens to Bugatti now? Can Bugatti survive without Porsche? What possibilities are at stake? Let's dig into the possible details of a Bugatti without Porsche and the future nobody can predict. Bugatti's reinvention sparks global repair debate. With Porsche stepping away, Bugatti entered a completely new era. For Mat Rimac, the moment represented something extraordinary. Years earlier, he had started by modifying old BMWs in a Croatian garage. Now he stood at the center of one of the world's most prestigious hypercar brands with unprecedented influence over its future. Bugatti was no longer simply tied to traditional automotive conservatism. It was becoming something different, something more technology-focused, something more experimental. The upcoming Bugatti Tourbillon symbolized that transformation perfectly. Replacing the legendary quad-turbo W16 engine with a hybrid V16 system producing around 1,800 horsepower, the car represented Bugatti's leap into a new engineering future. This was not just evolution, it was a reinvention. And that raised enormous questions about how Bugatti itself might change under the new structure. Would the company become more flexible with independent enthusiasts? Would the removal of Porsche's institutional oversight soften Bugatti's hardline approach to repair culture? Or would safety concerns continue keeping the company cautious and restrictive? Nobody truly knew. Rimac's public comments throughout the controversy remained fascinatingly balanced. On one hand, he repeatedly praised Mat Armstrong and acknowledged his passion as a fellow car enthusiast. On the other hand, he never backed away from the argument that improperly rebuilt hypercars could become serious dangers. That tension sat at the heart of the entire debate, because both sides had legitimate points. Independent repair culture preserves vehicles that might otherwise disappear forever. It empowers creativity, ownership rights, and technical innovation. But Bugattis are not ordinary cars. They operate at engineering extremes that few vehicles ever approach. At those performance levels, mistakes can become catastrophic. The debate was never truly black and white, yet one thing became undeniable. The rebuild had permanently changed public conversation around automotive ownership. Millions of people who previously never cared about repair rights, manufacturer control, or corporate influence suddenly had strong opinions. And perhaps most importantly, they were emotionally invested. That emotional investment gave the story unusual power. Because unlike policy arguments or legal discussions, people experienced this debate through a human story they could actually follow. One man is trying to fix a broken machine. One corporation is trying to stop him. That simplicity made the controversy universally understandable. And while executives discussed engineering standards and liability concerns, viewers connected emotionally with determination, creativity, and perseverance. In many ways, the rebuild became bigger than the Chiron itself. It became symbolic of a much larger cultural shift happening across multiple industries. From tractors to smartphones to electric vehicles, companies increasingly control how products can be repaired or modified after purchase. Mat Armstrong's Bugatti project suddenly became one of the clearest real-world examples of that tension playing out publicly. And millions of viewers were paying attention. Does Mat Armstrong have so much influence? How far has he come to wield such control? Let's take a look at Mat Armstrong's rise from being a BMX rider to an automotive YouTube star. From BMX rider to car builder. When Mat Armstrong launched his YouTube channel on April 7, 2013, few people could have predicted how far he would go. In the beginning, his videos focused mostly on BMX stunts, daring tricks, and the fast-paced world of extreme sports that he loved so much. The excitement, energy, and risk of BMX riding perfectly matched his adventurous personality. But while viewers saw thrilling action on screen, there was another side to his life that many did not know about. Behind the scenes, Armstrong worked tirelessly at different part-time jobs just to support his passion and future dreams. He spent time working in his father's garage, learning how vehicles worked piece by piece. He also delivered food, worked behind bars as a bartender, and spent hours in tuning shops, slowly building the mechanical knowledge that would later change his entire life. Everything took an unexpected turn after a serious BMX accident forced him away from competitive riding. The injury was a painful setback and could easily have ended his ambitions altogether. Around that same period, another opportunity appeared in a surprising form. His girlfriend's Audi TT had been badly wrecked in a crash, and most people believed the car was beyond saving. Instead of walking away from it, Armstrong saw potential where others saw disaster. He bought the damaged vehicle and decided to rebuild it himself while filming every stage of the process for YouTube. That single project completely transformed his career. Viewers became fascinated by the way he turned a broken car into something beautiful again. His videos were not only entertaining, but also filled with suspense, problem-solving, and genuine emotion. People loved watching him face difficult challenges and slowly bring damaged vehicles back to life. His audience grew even larger during the global COVID-19 pandemic when he restored a heavily damaged Bentley Continental GT. The project attracted huge attention online and introduced millions of viewers to his unique style of content. From that point onward, Armstrong became widely known for rebuilding crashed luxury and performance cars, including Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Rolls-Royces, BMWs, and Audis. Part of what makes his channel so engaging is the strong family atmosphere surrounding it. His partner, Hannah Smith, often appears in videos, while his father, Tony Armstrong, has become one of the channel's most loved personalities. Tony played a major role in teaching Mat repair skills from a young age, and together they have rebuilt incredible cars, including a Ferrari F430. Their teamwork, humor, and close bond give the channel a personal touch that keeps viewers coming back for more. What does this mission of Mat Armstrong represent? What message does it pass to the public? Let's talk about the legacy of the rebuild that changed everything. Bugatti rebuild reshapes automotive power narrative. When Mat Armstrong first flew to Miami to inspect a destroyed Bugatti, he was not trying to challenge corporate power structures or become the face of the right to repair movement. He simply wanted to rebuild a car. That is what makes the entire story so remarkable. Nobody planned for it to become this big. Nobody predicted that a single wrecked hypercar would trigger debates involving billion-dollar corporations, ownership rights, engineering ethics, and the future of automotive repair culture. Yet somehow, that is exactly what happened, because the timing became almost unbelievably perfect. As Mat Armstrong fought to revive the impossible car, Porsche itself entered financial turmoil. As Bugatti defended institutional standards, viewers increasingly sided emotionally with independent problem-solving. As corporations looked powerful publicly, their internal fragility became more visible. The contrast created a narrative that the internet could not resist, and through it all, the rebuild continued. Every repaired panel, every fabricated component, every successful engine startup pushed the story further beyond ordinary automotive content. By the end, the most powerful part of Porsche's statement about focusing on the core business was not what it literally meant. It was what millions of people believed it symbolized. To them, it sounded like giant corporations retreating while one determined mechanic kept moving forward. Whether that interpretation was fully fair almost stopped mattering, because perception had already won. And in the modern internet era, perception can shape reality just as powerfully as facts themselves. Today, the rebuilt Chiron represents far more than one repaired hypercar. It represents persistence. It represents creativity under pressure. It represents ordinary people refusing to accept that only giant institutions are capable of extraordinary things. At the same time, the controversy also forced difficult conversations about safety, responsibility, and the limits of independent repair. That complexity is why the story continues to fascinate people. There are no perfect heroes here, no perfect villains either, only passionate individuals, massive corporations, extraordinary machines, and a changing world struggling to decide who truly controls technology after it leaves the factory. And perhaps that is why this story feels historic. Because long after the final bolt is tightened and the rebuilt Chiron eventually drives again, the debate it sparked will continue far beyond one garage in Leicester. The car was never supposed to live again. But somehow, against every expectation, it did. And in the process, it changed the conversation forever. So, what do you think about Porsche's exit from Bugatti? Do you believe that Mat Armstrong would succeed in his mission? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.